Hi YouTube and hi everyone at Triton. This is Alex and Mark. We're here today to give our first weekly update for our YouTube channel. Kind of a quick review of some of the material we covered this week. This is the start of a little notebook for us here on YouTube, so people that were here can go in, see the gross motor functions of one of the movements we did that week, and really use that to kind of jar their memory, give them something to work on, something to think about when they're not here at class. Can't obviously cover the whole week. If you want to cover the whole week, come in and train with us. We'll get all those little details and we'll spend a lot of time getting reps. But for right now, let's go over one of the movements that we actually did tonight. So we're going to have Mark go ahead and lay down on his back, and I'm going to start from a side mount position. Very strong, very typical position in Jiu-jitsu. We're going to talk about how to make it a little bit stronger. One of the common things people do to defend or protect themselves on the ground in a side mount is they tuck this elbow. And Mark's doing a really nice job here. As I come down, he's going to keep this hand towards my hip and this elbow tight to his side. And this is a good side mount. It's a controlling side mount, but I can make it better and I can isolate him more to make my attacks more successful. So the first thing I want to think about is keeping my weight down, keeping my pressure on him. I'm going to utilize my high hand, the one under his head, to come back. I'm going to make a C clamp with it, a C grip, and I'm just going to reach behind and just check his tricep. Jiu-jitsu is rarely about strength and pulling. It's normally about me moving my body around his appendages, which is what we're going to do here. This just checks his elbow and holds it in place. From here, I'm going to take my low leg, my bottom leg, and I'm going to drive it back and at the same time let that hip come to the mat. What I don't want to do is lift my weight off of him and try and set out here. It's just too much space, and it's a very common mistake. So from here, I'm cupping his elbow, I'm sliding this knee back, and I'm driving that hip to the mat while I keep my weight down on Mark. Now, I turn my hips up, and I'm using my body to turn underneath this elbow. You'll notice I'm having him carry all my weight. There's nothing but space under my hip. I'm rotating my rib cage into his floating ribs and his diaphragm, and I'm bringing my knee up underneath his shoulder. And I know this motion is done when I feel my knee connect with his shoulder. Head's down, pressure's tight, and this leg is back to give me base in that direction. Once I'm here and I feel this knee make contact, I'm going to turn my hips over and I'm going to drive into him. Notice how we're moving as I drive into him. And I'm putting my knee into the back of his head. Then my low knee is recovering right to his rib cage. So I'm very tight. I come under the head and you'll notice I'm not down in the center mass of his chest. I'm actually up high along his clavicle girdle. This keeps my legs away from his legs. It makes it more difficult for him to recompose guard or hook my leg. And it really puts my weight where it counts, up here, right around his shoulder girdle. I've got good control of this arm, and I'm cupping the shoulder here, and I have good control of his head. You'll notice on this head, I'm using the knee to keep it off the ground. For a good bridge, Mark needs his head on the ground to power bridge out. As soon as I take this head away, you'll notice he has a very hard time bridging, and I'm not using any strength here. So now I slide my knee under there, cup the shoulder, and I'm in a very strong position. And I can start my attacks. One of the common escapes you'll see from here is Mark's going to try and shrimp away and drive his hips away to recompose guard. If I feel him going this way, I can transition both hands to the mat, utilize my head if I need to. My knee on the low side is coming in contact with his rib cage, keeping my butt down, and I'm driving my knee up across his abdomen into his solar plexus. This is our knee in position. Rather than leave the leg back here, where he can easily get underneath my foot or drive me off, I'm going to come to the solar plexus and I'm going to turn and put the laces of my shoes. This is an important detail that gets overlooked. I'm going to put my laces against his quad. Once those laces are there, it becomes much more difficult for him to recompose. And I have that connection and that tactile feel. I understand where that leg is. From this position, my other leg's out in a good outrigger position, so I have a solid knee in. From here, I can attack far side and I can attack near side. Gives me a lot of assault options, as well as my collar in a gi situation. One of the reasons we like this for self-defense is it's much more mobile. I can have good situational awareness, see what's going on. I can disengage very quickly if I need to, or I can re-engage to my side mount if I need more control and continue working back through my sequence. One of the things we did this week, hope you enjoyed this little notebook of it. Again, come in next week, we'll be moving on to new material, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. See you next week.